What I'm showing here today is my TRS-80 Color Computer 2. First, let me go back a little farther in time. I started with the TRS-80 when my high school got a Model 1 in the spring of 1980. During the summer of 1980, I bought this book from my local Radio Shack and read it cover to cover. I wrote my programs by hand, then waited for school to start in the fall so I could type them in and made sure that they worked. Somewhere around late 1981 or early 1982, I got my first generation TRS-80 Color Computer. Worked great until I sold it and bought this CoCo 2, probably late in 1983. This is all original parts and it all works except for the Y key. Let's look at some of the highlights. Here's the original manual and quick reference card for all your color basic commands. The computer took program cartridges like Polaris, Project Nebula, and Dungeons of Daggorath, which of course plays a big part in the book Ready Player One. Here's a quick look at a few of the games in action. Polaris was a Miss Command clone and was a lot of fun to play. Project Nebula was an original game but has a sort of Star Wars look to it. It was unique in the way that the enemy ship stands back and forth in front of you and behind you, which made targeting them sort of more of a challenge. Dungeons of Daggorath was one of the first real-time, first-person adventure games, but it did challenge your typing skills because it was all done in real time. I also had lots of programs and games on cassette, but those have probably degraded by now. Luckily, I can still load these programs in using a simple converter that takes the WAV files from a PC and inputs them into the cassette port of the CoCo. Let's give it a try. First, you can see that Color Basic was licensed from Microsoft, which happens to be where I work today. I'll play this WAV file from my Microsoft Laptop 2, which is, a little more powerful than the CoCo. Here's a listen before I plug in the cable. Okay, let's give it a try now. This game is Lancer, made by a company called Spectral Associates that was based in nearby Tacoma. This is a jealous clone and pretty well done. The final item I'd like to show you is this joystick that I put together. One of the Color Computer magazines back in the 80s had an article on what parts to buy at your local Radio Shack store and instructions on how to put it together. It was fairly simple, but you can see I got a little careless with the soldering iron on some of the edges here. The button action is still pretty good, but it won't win any ergonomic awards. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little tour. I sure had fun playing some games I haven't touched in about 35 years or so. Oh, and for even more fun, be sure and check out the Living Computer Museum in Seattle if you ever get a chance.